Hi all, welcome back to Techno Labs. Today we will look into the global exception handler. Okay, the global exception handler is a type of workflow designed to determine the project behavior when encountering an execution error. So let's get into the details of global exception handler. Just like we learned the different workflows in the previous videos, we have seen the sequence as well as the flowchart, and now we are state machine is also we have gone through the state machine as well. So now we will look into the global exception handler in detail. Okay, so what is a global exception handler? The global exception handler is a type of workflow which is designed to be used in both small and large automation projects for identifying the execution error. Okay, the global exception handler is not available for the library project. It is used only for the processes. Only exceptions which are uncaught will reach the exception handler. Uncaught in the sense which is not used inside the try catch. Okay, next is only one global exception handler can be set per automation project. The global exception handler has two arguments that should not be removed. If you look at the screenshot given here, you can see that there are two arguments. One is a error info and another one is a result. Error info is of the direction in and result is of direction out. So we will get the details of the error using the error info, and in the result you can use a different type of behavior or type of how the bot should behave for your automation that you can define. So we will look into an example and we will see how it is used. Okay, so the global exception handler has two arguments that should not be removed, as I have mentioned in the previous slide. So the arguments are error info and the result. So what happens in the error info? The first argument is error info with indirection. So what it does, it stores the information about the error that was thrown and the workflow that failed. Okay, the level of the error to be logged can be set in the log message activity. If you go to the previous slide, you can see this is a log error message activity. Here you are using the error info dot exception dot. If you want to get the message, what was the message, then you can use dot message dot toString. Okay, now use activity info property for error info to get the name of the activity which threw the exception and view it in the output panel. So which activity threw the exception, that information you can get it in the output panel using the error info argument. Okay, now coming to the second argument. The second argument is result. It has an argument of direction out and it is used to determine the next behavior of the process when it encounters an error. The following values can be assigned to the result argument. One is continue. First one is continue. The exception is rethrown. If you use the continue, then the exception will be rethrown. Ignore meaning the exception is ignored and the execution continues to the next activity. Retry meaning that the activity which threw the exception is retried. Use a retry counter method for error info to count the number of times activity is retried. If you go to the message, you cannot see here. I will show it in the program when we do the example. Okay, by default the process is having 3 retries. If you want to program based on your requirement, you can change from 3 to 2, or if you want to change to 5, it is flexible. Next is abort. The execution stops after running the current global exception handler. To control the workflow's behavior in case of an error, the global exception handler retries activities 3 times and then abort with an error message. That is how it is programmed. Okay. Okay. Now let us do an example. Okay. I will do it here. Okay. Open a new. Let me global exception handler. I'm going to give it as global exception handler. Okay, and let me create one sequence as well. I'm going to use a notepad demo. I'm going to name it as notepad demo. So what I'm going to do here is I will open 3 notepad, one using the application, open application. So it will open the application by default, and if you want to enter some message you can give that. And next activity I'm going to use is type info. Using the type info, I will indicate the notepad and then I will type a message. That is a second notepad. And again, I'm going to open one more notepad. 3 notepad I will be opening. Okay. So after that, let's run the program to see the happy path. Then second time we will create a error purposefully. Okay, now let's see how we will add the global handler to this process. Okay, so I added the global handler here. Let's look into the global handler first. So there is a log error activity. Here you can see the message error info. This is the default argument type error info, which is of direction in, and this is the second argument result of direction out. Okay, so here you can see error info dot exception dot to string. This is how it is configured by default. If you want to get the message, you can add dot message dot to string. It will give the activity where the exception has occurred. Okay, and what is the next behavior? If there is some exception occurred, then what should the bot do next? That is defined here. So as I mentioned, we have continue, ignore, retry, and abort. Okay, so first it will check the condition, how many times it has to retry. Okay, by default it is given as 3. If you want to change 3 to 2, you can give it as 2. Okay, I'm not changing the default one, I'm keeping as such. Okay, so if it is less than 3, then it will keep on retrying. Okay, so then the next action is it will retry. Okay, if it ran once and check for the notepad, if the notepad is there, then what it should do, it will go to the next action. It will complete the process with the happy path. Okay, so even after the 3 retry, it is not, if it is not able to find the notepad, then what should be the action? It will go to the else part and it will abort the process. Okay, so that is what it is going to happen in this program. Okay, now I added the notepad demo. I have not configured anything. So before that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the global handler for this process. So what you have to do is select the process here, right click, set as global handler. Okay, it will give a message. In order to comply with the global handler format, the arguments of the notepad demo.xaml workflow have to be updated. Would you like to continue? Click yes. Okay, now see the icon has changed. Okay, okay, now let's program. Go to the activity. Okay, so the global handler has been added. Now let me add the notepad. So here let me open the application activity. Okay, it's not listing, it is in the modern. Let me change to classic. So for that, go to settings here. You can see it's modern. I'm changing to classic. Okay, now coming to the activity, I'm going to add the open application. Okay, open application. I'm placing this activity here. So okay, let me indicate it, indicated. Then now let me add type into indicate. Let me indicate a notepad. I'm going to give the message. Welcome to the first notepad. Okay, now let me add the log message as well. Log level is info. Adding the first notepad and writing the message. Okay, now so what I have done is I gave a log message. The log level is information, and it is just giving the message, adding the first notepad and writing the message. So what happens is when we run this process, you can see the this log message in the output window. You can see it here. Okay, now next is I added an activity named open application, and just I indicated the screen to the notepad, so it identified this notepad application. Then I added a type into activity wherein I am typing this message. So this is the first activity I have added. Now again I am going to add a log message that is going to give the information. Moving to the second notepad. So again I'm going to add type into activity. Type into activity. Click indicate on screen. I'm going to indicate the notepad. I'm going to give the message second notepad. Second notepad. Now again I'm going to add one more type into. Indicate on screen. Going to give the message the final notepad. Okay. Now I'm going to add two more log message. Change to info. It is second notepad operation completed. And third is going to give us info. I'm going to give the message it is final notepad. Final notepad completed. Okay, so we made the notepad demo as a global exception handler type. We configured this process, added the log message, opened one open application, notepad application, and then typing the message welcome to first notepad. Added one more log message to let me change to info. Then added the message, moving to the second notepad. Okay, just before the second notepad. And in the type into, I have added the message welcome to the second notepad. Again I added one log message, second notepad operation completed. Then added the final type into indicator to the notepad and give the message the final notepad. Then again one more log message and the final information is passed. Okay, so the process is completed now. Let me go to the global handler. Here I added the message. Here if you see, I added the message. It was by default it is exception dot toString. Okay, so to get the message, which activity is throwing the message, I am giving the message toString. Okay, and just like I explained before, uh, so it will give the information where the error has occurred. If you go to the argument, you can see the two variables or arguments. One is input direction, one argument is of output direction. Okay, so the input direction, this will give the activity which throwed the exception, and using the result you can see you have to choose a behavior, next action. If the error occurred for a particular activity, what is the next behavior or the next action which has to be done by the bot? So it will check the condition. If it will retry for 3 times. This is by default, the retry is 3, so it will try for 3 times. So first time it will check, okay, if the condition is less than, if the count is less than 3, say for example it tried for once, so it will come here, it will check the value here. If it is less than 3, then it will keep on retrying till it reaches 3. Okay, if the process has completed successfully, then it will be the happy path. Okay, even if the retry, even after the multiple retry, the process has not completed successfully, then it will act upon the uh, action. What is the action? Either abort or continue or ignore or retry. What is the action you have mentioned? That will be happening. Okay, now let's run this process. Okay, okay, it will open the notepad, new notepad. Okay, I'm not opening the let me see the second notepad. Let me close this as well. Let me run once again. Okay, I'm running once again. Okay, it opened the notepad, first notepad. Okay, I'm going to clear it. Okay, opened the second notepad. I'm going to remove this as well. So the final notepad. Okay, if you check the output, you can see okay, see, adding the first notepad and writing the message. Okay, so this is a log message, first log message. It opened, it wrote the first wrote the message in the notepad. Next log message is moving to the second notepad. Okay, next is it opened the next one, wrote this message, and then the log message is second notepad operation completed. It opened the next one, then it wrote the message. Okay, so this is a happy path. Now let's make a error purposefully. Okay, I'm running it again. It will open one notepad. Okay, first notepad is open, it wrote the message. Second notepad it is typing on the open the notepad. Okay, now I'm not, if you check, okay, it reached the second notepad. Okay, second notepad. Okay, it was not able to find the third one or the final notepad. It threw there. Okay, see, it tried 3 times, could not find the UI element notepad, and it threw there. Let me see what will happen if we change. I'm going to add this one inside a try catch block. This is a second notepad. Okay, surround by try catch. Okay, now let me close this one. I'm closing all the notepads. Okay, now let us run it. I missed to give the exception. Okay, okay, now it is done. So what we have to do is in the try, when you surround it by the try catch, give the exception as well. Okay, in the catch. Now let me rerun. It should open one notepad and it will type the first message. Okay, welcome to the first notepad. Now I'm not opening the second notepad for writing the message. Let's wait for some time. It moved to the second notepad. It's waiting for the second one. Let's wait. See, second notepad operation completed. Okay, now I'm going to give the new notepad. Okay, actually what happened here is the first notepad was open. It wrote the message. It came to the second notepad. Okay, it came here. Moving to the second notepad, it came here, and here I encapsulated the type info activity inside the try catch block. So even though the notepad was not open and exception has occurred, it was catched in the catch block. Okay, and then it moved to the next log message. Second notepad operation completed. Okay, and then the final notepad was opened and it wrote the message. So what happened is this did not go to the global handler because the exception was already caught here. Okay, now let's close this. Let me run once again. Okay, and let's see what happen if I am not giving the third notepad. Sorry, I ran from the global handler. Sorry, we have to run it from the notepad. Okay, I'm going to run again. First notepad open, it typed the message. I'm going to open the new notepad. Second notepad was open. I'm not going to open the final notepad. Let's see what is going to happen. It should abort. Could not find. Okay. Okay. 3 times it tried and it got aborted. Let's wait. Yeah, it's got aborted. Okay. So that is what in the global exception handler. This is how the global exception handler work. So the basic thing is, in this process, if I'm attaching the global handler, whatever exception is occurring during the execution, which are not caught by a try catch block, those will be handled by the global handler. If we are catching the exception using the try catch, then this global exception handler will not be working for that particular activity. Okay, so that is the whole concept about the global handler and how to use it in the project. I hope this session is helpful. Happy automation. Thank you all.